And the other question is that we are now living in a different period where the Washington consensus is twofold. The Washington consensus has imposed a neoliberal vision on the whole world. And the notion that this vision, it's not working in Latin America, where it was first put into place. The whole of the Latin American continent, in some shape or form, is in revolt against this imperial economic vision of neoliberal economics. It's a failure. It's failed. You have governments being elected with the people wanting the governments to challenge it. And it's very interesting that exactly a year before they invaded Iraq, there was an attempt made to topple the regime of Hugo Chávez in Venezuela. And the attempt almost succeeded. No one is surprised when you say it was organized by the American and Spanish embassies in Caracas. And they put a puppet government in place. The first thing, this government ruled for 3 days. And the first thing it did in these 3 days, apart from putting a lot of people in prison, they suspended the constitution which had been voted for by a majority of Venezuelans. They dismissed the elected governors of all the Venezuelan provinces. They sacked most of the judges. And the New York Times proclaimed, democracy has been enhanced in Venezuela. Enhanced. Mercifully, no one there depended on the New York Times to bring back democracy. When news spread that Chavez had been captured and hadn't resigned, what happened was quite incredible. There was a revolt of the ordinary soldiers inside the army, quite amazing. And the way the revolt started, I found out in Caracas a few weeks ago when we were celebrating the first anniversary of the failed coup, is that the general who was behind the coup ordered the band and the trumpeter standing outside the Miraflores Palace to play the trumpet to announce the arrival of the new president. And the soldiers in this band said, "What new president? We've only got one elected president, and that's Chavez. What are you talking about?" And they said, no, what you don't know, a new president has been sworn in. And the general said to this rating, "I instruct you to play the trumpet." And the soldier said, "I won't play the trumpet for a guy you've just put in power." And the general said, "Well, in that case, you'll be arrested and shot." And he said, "I've got a better idea, General. Here's the trumpet. You play it." He said, "Play it. You put him in power. You play the trumpet for him. Don't force us to play it." When that happened, the soldiers on the top of the palace said, "Why has the entire band been arrested?" And news went round that Chavez had been arrested, and the soldiers just rang up the general in the neighboring barracks and said, "General, unless you bring the troops in to bring our president back, we're going to go and deal with these people who are being sworn in the Miraflores Palace even as we speak." The same time, the poor of Caracas stormed out of their barrios, stormed out of them, and reached the palace. 500,000 poor people. And the combination of the two defeated the coup. Now, that's resistance. And the problem, one of the big problems with Iraq was that Saddam was not a Chavez. Chavez is a guy who carries the constitution in his pocket and shows it to people. And there's not a single political prisoner in Venezuela, despite the fact that the entire media is in the hands of the enemy. It's owned by a Cuban exile from Miami, Cisneros, and attacks the regime in the most vicious way day after day, including racist attacks of the most vulgar sort. The Chavistas, look at them, they are dark-skinned, they have Indian features. This goes on endlessly. Under any race relations law, you'd stop it, but they don't stop it. They've let them carry on. All the newspapers are against him. I told them, I said, what you need is an Al Jazeera for Latin America. You can call it, I said, you can give it a Latin American name, call it Al Bolivar. But that's what you need. So it's these forms of resistance which are of interest to us, much more than resistance by actual states. Because it's when the people resist, when there's a resistance from below, that it really counts for something.